Okay. Okay, we're going to set up our files for our modular grid exercise. So I'm in InDesign, and I'm going to set up a new page. I'm going to switch the measurement to inches because the measurement has been given to me in inches, and it's going to be an 8-inch by 8-inch page size. We're going to be setting up 3 pages. It's not a facing page, so unmark the facing page box. Starting on page 1 is fine. We're going to have 4 columns. Our gutter width is going to be 0.25. It's 1/4 of an inch. Our margins are also going to be 0.25. All of them. So you can just make all the all the settings the same by clicking the linked button. We're not going to have any bleed, so we don't have to worry about the bleed. So just to review, we have an 8 by 8-inch page size. We have 3 pages. Make sure the facing page box is unchecked. It should not be checked. Starting on page 1, 4 columns, 1/4 inch gutter, and the margins are also 1/4 inch. I'm going to hit create. And this is what it should look like. Everyone got that? Okay. Next, we're going to set up our baseline grid. Now, who remembers from last class, our baseline grid is what, when we look at our type, when we're doing our type body copy, it's going to have a point size and a leading size. Which one is our baseline grid based on? Our point size or our leading? Who can tell me? Anyone?
Got a 50-50 shot. I'm
You
gonna
do.
guess leading.
You were right. You're right.
Oh, good.
Leading it is. All right, so we're going to go into InDesign, preferences, grids. Click on grids. This pop-up comes up and it says, the very first box says baseline grid. We're going to go ahead in the first box, it says start. We're going to say at 0. Relative to top of margin. Increment every. This is your leading. So 11 point is what our instructions say. Set up the baseline grid at 11 point. The view threshold, I'm going to reduce down to 12.5, which on the drop down is one of the lower ones, because I want to have it on all the time. And you'll see that the view setting means just how close you have to be to see the baseline grid. I want to see it all the time because we're learning how to use it. So we want to have it on all the time. So we're going to say 12.5. I'm going to say, okay. I don't see anything. That's normal. We have to turn our baseline grids on. So we've set it up, but now we have to turn it on to see it. So we got to go to view, grids and guides, show baseline grid. Now you should see a baseline grid. And you see it starts at the top of my margin and it goes down edge to edge on all 4 sides to my margin. Any questions there?
I think I missed something there. Can you
Okay.
just walk through that one more time?
Not a problem.
Thanks.
So we're going to go into InDesign, preferences, grids.
Okay, so I think it's probably because I'm on a PC, but mine doesn't say
Oh,
InDesign. Did I just go to like file?
You have, yours is different. Your preferences are in a different spot on a PC. I gotta think about this for a minute.
Go to edit.
Edit, is it under edit? Yeah,
Yeah, at the bottom, you will see preference.
yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yep, they move them. I don't know why they do this, but on a PC, they put preferences in a different spot. But once you get there, it's the same.
Okay.
And then you'll see this box. And then you want to go start at 0. Relative to top of margin. Increment every 11 points. That's your letting. And view threshold 12.5%. And then hit OK. Then to see them, you go to view. Is your view, Ying, is your view in the same spot under view, grids and guides, turn baseline grid on?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Is that working? Awesome. Okay. Perfect. So now we have our baseline grid set up. So if you go to the windows and open up your pages palette, your pages window, click on that. Mine's open over here. I'm going to pull it over here. You'll see I have 3 pages. And if I zoom out, you can see there are my 3 pages. They all have their baseline grids and they all have their 4 columns. Now zoom back in. There's such a thing in InDesign, and it's called master pages. And when I'm in this pages window, it's separated. So here's the pages window. And you'll see these are my 3 pages. But up here, I have a master page. And the master page, whatever I do on the master page will affect all of the other pages. Okay. And so what I want to do is double click so it highlights blue, the master page. Okay, so once I've done that, I'm going to go to this page. Now I'm working not on page 1, but I'm working on the master page. So whatever I do here is going to affect all 3 of my pages. And I want that because I'm going to build into my modules. I'm going to take the shape tool and I'm going to hold my shift key down and bring it over to stop it right here at the first edge of my first column. I'm going to make it a color so you can see it. Since it's St. Patrick's Day, I'm going to make it green. So here is our square. And I'm doing this because this is going to be my module. And I want you to make sure you have your rulers on. You can see my rulers are Command R on a Mac. And I think it's Alt R on a PC. Will turn your rulers on and off. You want to have your rulers on. And then we're going to go up here to Layout, Ruler Guides. Oh, Control R, thank you. Ruler Guides, and change the color to red. And I want it to be real bright so that you can see it, and leave the view threshold at 5% and then say okay. Then I'm going to have you click on the ruler and drag a guide down, and I want you to end at the bottom of your green square. And then once you do, click off of it and you'll see there is a red line, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see it a little clearer. It's very subtle, but there's my red line. I'm going to go on to my ruler and drag another red line down so that I have 2 red lines. This is creating my first flow line for my first module. Is everyone with me? Yeah, okay. All right, then I'm going to select my green square and I'm just going to slide it down below my flow line. And I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm going to pull from my ruler a guide down. I'm going to pull the one down. I'm lining them up right on my baseline grid because our flow lines fit on our baseline grid. I'm going to pull it down again. And I'm just using this square as a measurement tool because I want these perfect square modules. And you'll see when I get down to the bottom here, it's not perfectly aligning with the bottom of my margin. I'm not worried about that. It's okay, just let it end where it does. So when I zoom back, you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4 modules. And if I click now on my page 1, my page 2, or my page 3, they all have the grid on them because I did this on my master page. I'm gonna pause here. Does everyone with me on that? Okay. Perfect. Okay, good. So now we have it all set up. So we're going to go off of that master page. We don't need to be on the master page. We're going to go click on page 1. So then you can go back on your project brief, and I have put all of the copy that we're going to use. I'm going to select it right off the PDF. I'm just highlighting the PDF. I'm using Command C for copy or Control C if you're on a PC. I'm going to come over here to my InDesign file, and I'm going to grab my text tool, and I'm going to just click into make a box and Command V or Control V if you are on a PC. And I've just put all of my copy into one text box. And there's a little square here telling me there's more copy than I'm seeing. That's okay. So I'm just putting all my copy here into a box.
Sorry, where do I find the copy?
The copy is, let me pull this over. Oh, I gotta make it smaller. It's on the PDF for our assignment. Well, it's not letting me. It's my problem using 2 monitors. It's being difficult. Yeah. It's not letting me.
Is it the one that's just titled grid.pdf?
No, it's the one that is titled Modular Grid Exercise. So if you go all the way down underneath our weekly checklist file, it's called Modular Grid Exercise, exercise 3.1 modular_grid.pdf. Do you see that? It's in the week.
It's
8.
exercise 3.1 dash modular.
Mhm.
That one? Okay.
Yep, exercise 3.1 modular_grid PDF. Yep,
Okay.
open up that file. And it's on
I see.
page 2 of that PDF.
Got it.
Okay, good. That's where it is. And then just select all the copy, and there's 5 paragraphs, and then bring them over here. And then once you have them, you can select all that copy. Just do a Command A, which is select all, or Control A. And then you can go over to your, type character. And, your default is always Minion. So we want to use, of course, only a Swiss font. I'm going to use Siban. And the point size has to be 8. And our baseline grid is 11. So it's 8 on 11 is the size of the type for the project. Now, I'm going to show you something. We're using a baseline grid. Let's zoom in so we can see the copy sitting here. So notice how if I move this box around, the copy isn't necessarily sitting automatically on this baseline grid. It's kind of going anywhere it wants, right? We already know that a baseline grid is what our type needs to sit on. But there's a feature here in InDesign that makes your copy automatically always sit on that baseline grid. And it's in the paragraph menu. So in the paragraphs window, at the bottom corner, there's two little buttons. And the one on the left shows two little columns of copy set adjacent each other. And if you roll over it, it tells you do not align to the baseline grid is what it says. And it's selected automatically. That's the default. What I want to do is select my copy, Command A, and then go over here to the second button where the two columns of copy are aligning. And that is where you are choosing the copy to align to the baseline grid. Now, when I move my box of copy, no matter where I move it, it's always sitting on the baseline grid. You can't make a mistake. It's always going to sit on the baseline grid. Isn't that fantastic? No matter where we go, it's going to sit on that baseline grid. So, just going to move this stuff over. So we have all our copy in here. It's going to be up to you to design how you're going to organize the copy and break it into, you have 5 paragraphs and a title into this 4-column modular grid. Now, there's a couple things I want you to keep in mind when you're designing. That in a module, the active corner is the upper left-hand corner of every one of these square modules. Remember, and I'm going to highlight it. This is a module. This is a module. So all of these are modules. The upper left-hand corner of any one of these squares is the active corner. So that's where you want to start or stop copy when you're organizing information. So you could take bits and pieces out of here. I'm using Command X to cut it out of a box. And if I wanted to create a new text box, I can do that, and Command V to paste it. And I can say, okay, I want to move this headline over here, or I want to move it right here, using always an active corner. Now, when you're working within columns, you want to keep type in a column, or you're possibly going to have it go over 2 columns. Your type boxes should always end either at a single column or move it, or it can span 2 columns. You don't want your type to really go further than 2 columns because it hurts the legibility. Your column width is going to be important for legibility. So just thinking about how you're organizing copy is just going to come in plain Jane, and you want to think about hierarchy and organization. Remember, you have different weights. You have regular, bold, italic. Your first 2 designs need to be an all 8-point copy on 11-point leading. Your third design, you may introduce a secondary type size. So you're going to choose one typeface for your whole project, and for all 3 pages, one typeface, and it can be any typeface that's designed in Switzerland. Any other questions?
How do we know which typefaces are Swiss?
When you're looking on Adobe Types, it tells you like where they were, who designed them, where they're designed, what they were designed for.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Sure. And I've given you a few names of a few in the assignment sheet. Any other questions? So the idea is to really play and learn how to balance a layout that makes sense. You know, you have a headline, you have an introduction, and then you have 4 typographic diseases. Read your type, read the copy that you're about to lay out. And how do we walk people through this information? So you want to use this grid as a way to communicate and organize information. You know, think of it as a bento box of information. You want to organize, have it all compartmentalized so that we can understand it and digest it easily. Okay. I just want to make sure we all understand how to get our file set up. Once we have it set up, the next step, is there any other questions before I move on to the next step? Okay, the next step is I want you to save them 2 ways. Once you've done your design, so let's assume I've done my design and I'm now going to save it. I'm all ready to go. So what I'm going to do is go into File, Export, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to always name it with my name so I know whose it is. So I'm going to say Decker, Amy, and then I'm going to call it Grid. Next. And I'm going to call this With Grids On. And so I'm going to say Adobe PDF print, save. And when I get here, I'm going to say high quality print, all pages. I'm going to go down here to the bottom box, which says include. And I want to select non-printing objects and visible guides and grids. Okay. I'm going to say export. It's showing me that I have overset text. And what that message means is, so you see over here on my type box, see how there's a little red dot, little red plus sign in my box? That's saying there's more copy in this type box that you don't see because your box isn't big enough. I know that because I haven't laid out my page yet, but if you guys get this message, go back to your design and see if you're missing some copy that's hidden. Make sure you have all your copy visible. So you would want to check. I know that I have copy invisible, not visible. That's okay, because I'm just using this as a demo. So I'm going to say okay. And now I'm going to save it a second way. I'm going to go File, Export. So we're going to save it twice. I say Decker, Amy, Grid, X, and leave it. And leave it just like this. Say Adobe PDF print, save, still high quality print mode. This time I'm going to go down to the include and turn off the non-printing objects and turn off the visible guides and grids, and then say export. And now I'm going to show you what those both look like. I'm going to open up Acrobat. I'm going to go File, Open. And there's my 2 files I just created. I'm going to open them both. Okay. So here is my first one. No grids are on. Here is My second one, oh, I had my crop marks on. You don't need your crop marks on. That was from an earlier thing I was doing, so you probably won't have them, but you want to make sure you don't have your crop marks on. So there it is with my grids. So I have one file with grids, and I have one file without grids. Okay. Any questions? Okay. All right, I just stopped the recording.